Hello, in this video we're going to look at some of the unique features to the NIM Photoshop connector. First, we can see I have an asset here to create an environment dome, and I have a texture task assigned. Let's switch over to Photoshop, and I'll go ahead and open my in progress EXR. Here we can see there's still quite a bit of cleanup to do, and it's generally overexposed. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to log this as a version into NIM. Using our NIM menu, we have it built in as a palette. We have Open, Save As, Version Up, Publish, and Change User options. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to Save As to save it into my asset. So I'm going to choose my job, server. I'm going to choose Asset, which is Environment Dome. And I'm going to say I'm working on a texture. And then I'm going to give this a tag, New York. So now we can see we have some other options here to set the file type and export elements. The NIM connector allows you to export additional elements of different resolutions and file types at the time of save and publish. For now, we'll leave export elements as always, but we haven't defined any just yet. I'll click Save As, and we can see our save is successful. Looking at our asset, we can click on Files and see that we have our first version logged into NIM. If we look at our folder structure, we can see that in our Asset Environment Dome, we have a texture folder, and inside there, we have a folder with the name of our base name and our Photoshop version. Let's make some modifications and save a version. We'll add a new adjustment layer, and we'll set our exposure. Let's bring our exposure down so we can see our clouds. Now I'm going to save this as a new version in NIM. I click Version Up, and I can add a comment and hit Version Up, and it'll version up our Photoshop file. However, I'd like to also add export elements. Since I'm working at an EXR, I'd like a preview version. So I'm going to choose I would like a preview JPEG. I'm going to click Add Element. Clicking on the element, I see element details. I'm going to edit those. I want to log this as an element type texture. I only want this to be 8-bit, and I actually want it to be quarter res. And we have our standard format options. I'm going to adjust the quality to 8. Now I'll click OK. I can add an additional one, so we output a TIFF. We'll edit our element options. We'll say it's a texture. Set it to 16-bit, and this will be half res. Here again, we see our file format dependent options. Now we can click Version Up. NIM will version up our original PSD file, as well as create our export elements with their unique settings. We can see our new version is saved, and if we look at our file browser, we can see we have version 2, as well as version 2 element 1, which is a TIFF, and version 2 element 2, which is our JPEG. When we go to version up again, we can see our elements are still there, so every time we version, they would be automatically exported. However, we can change that behavior by adjusting the export elements dropdown from always to never or only on publish. After exporting our elements, if we look at NIM, we can see we have our second version of our Photoshop file. But if we click on elements, we can see our two export elements that have been logged as textures. And that's a brief overview of the unique export features for the NIM Photoshop connector. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please email us at support@nim-labs.com or visit the support forum at support.nim-labs.com. We look forward to hearing from you.